My dad passed away when I was young in a car accident, exactly, when I was 4. So, she tried hard to make sure we had a good life. My mother worked in various places, until she got a well-paying job, which is the one he currently works on. We both grew up in a somewhat conservative area where homosexuality, not that it wasn't frowned upon. There were LGBT people and they were completely accepted. But there were families who didn't like the idea of homosexuality too much. My mother grew up with that mentality. She didn't hate the LGBT idea, but she certainly disliked gay couples a bit. One time, we saw a gay couple in a mall and she said something like they shouldn't do that in public, much less kiss. During my childhood and adolescence she had several boyfriends. Her longest relationship lasted almost 5 years. I really liked that guy because we used to play Monopoly and various video games. Luckily we still talk because he is one of my mother's best friends, but they both decided to take different paths and had to separate. Now, or, months ago. A year ago, I started going to a gym near my house. She began to notice my physical changes. It crossed her mind to go to the gym with me. Until several months ago he started going to the gym, after thinking about it a lot. After months she lost a lot of weight, and improved physically. I noticed several guys from the gym looking at her carefully. In September, she signed up for the spinning class with other ladies. At first she only went in the mornings, but after 4 weeks, she also went in the evenings. My mom told me that she had become friends with Jennifer, the spinning teacher, not her real name. Some weekends she let me know that she was going out to eat or run with Jennifer. This is how their friendship continued. There were times when my mother spoke with Jennifer for several moments on the phone or on WhatsApp. I began to suspect my mother's feelings towards Jennifer, when one day they went out for a run but it started to rain. I heard from the noises that they came running and stood next to the roof on one side of the entrance. I looked out my window and saw them both outside the house. Jennifer and my mother were laughing and I saw my mother's face completely red and nervous, like when she was with her boyfriend from before. Jennifer's face was the same as my mother's. Then they gradually stopped their conversation and looked at each other. I saw my mother look Jennifer in the eyes and then shift to other parts. They both started to get closer, and for a moment I thought they were going to kiss, but they both stopped. At all that time I was sitting in my room looking out the window. Through my window you can clearly see the entrance to my house and the garden. Then my mom and Jennifer came home. I greeted them both. Jennifer and my mom looked a little uncomfortable and then Jennifer left. I asked my mom if something had happened, because her face was red. She flatly denied it and asked me not to talk about it anymore. More things happened. My mom and Jennifer's outings increased and tended to last longer. And the times my mother couldn't see Jennifer she got a little sad. But something happened at the end of November. A person we know left his girlfriend for another guy. As soon as we found out, my mother talked about it privately. Declaring how that was possible. What example was that for the children? That she would never have a relationship like that. And basically, saying bad things about LGBT people. Hearing her say this made me a little sad for her situation. Because, clearly my mother had feelings for Jennifer but she didn't seem to want to accept it. 4 days ago I went out with friends to watch a movie. My mom was going to be home because it was her day off. I told her that I would be arriving near Irby in the evening. But, things happened and I had to return home early. When we arrived, my mother's car was not there. So I just went to my room and played some video games. Shortly after I saw her arrive with Jennifer. I heard some strange sounds, took off my headphones, and walked down the stairs carefully. And, I saw my mom and Jennifer hugging each other. I saw that my mom was sobbing. They both moved away and then my mom kissed Jennifer and she did the same. I returned to my room being very careful not to make any noise. 5 minutes passed, and I heard them leaving. They both kissed again and got into the car together. And in case you were wondering, I had all the lights in my room off. The only thing that was on was my computer. About an hour passed and they both returned with Walmart bags of paper, gift bags, and toys. My mother always gives toys to my nephews or the children of her friends. And yes, they were for them. My mother and Jennifer greeted me. And between the three of us, we wrapped the toys with the paper and kept others in the bags. When Jennifer left I asked my mom, not directly, if something was going on between them. My mother got nervous and denied it completely. For now my mom has not seen Jennifer, because she went to spend the holidays with her family like us. At the moment I can't feel happier for my mother. It seems like she already admitted what she feels but she hasn't told anyone. I'm going to try to tell her that I know by showing her all my support and love and that I don't care if she's actually gay. The only thing that matters to me is seeing her happy. Update 1. Some things about my mother. She grew up in a fairly conservative area, and she maintained that mentality. And to that add that she is a little religious. We moved when I was very young, to a much more liberal area, where seeing LGBT people was more common. I remember that she didn't like same-sex relationships at all, but mainly those of 2 women. When I was in high school, I had a friend who was bi. She had several boyfriends, but then she had a girlfriend. When my friend visited me, my mother seemed uncomfortable. She never said anything offensive to her, but, without a doubt, she could see his discomfort. Well, now after my previous post, I asked my mom if she had some kind of relationship with Jennifer. She replied a little annoyed, "No, why do you think that? Don't go telling anyone that you think that." I didn't comment anything anymore, and only hinted that it was a joke. And ironically, something happened at the New Year's party, which was attended by my mother's friends and family. After a few beers, all kinds of conversations arose: religion, politics, recent events in the country, music, and at some point, relationships. Everyone was in the patio. I was on the other side of a glass door with shutters, but you could hear everything they were saying. One of the friends talked about his family, and I don't know what else, but then, my mother responded to a question: I would never have a relationship with another woman. I don't really like those relationships. I can imagine how difficult they must be. One of her friends said, sure? To which everyone laughed. 4 days ago, my mother and I returned home. As I expected, my mother called Jennifer directly. I don't know what they talked about, but my mother looked clearly happy. Later she told me that she spoke with her. I mentioned the idea of her inviting Jennifer to dinner, to which my mother agreed with her doubts. So, Jennifer will most likely come to my house for dinner tomorrow, or in 2 days. I guess my mother still doesn't feel ready to admit that she has a girlfriend or that she likes women. For the time she has flatly denied it. The idea I have is to improve relations with Jennifer little by little, until my mother feels more comfortable talking about the subject. And talk little by little about how I support these types of relationships, not so obvious winks, about her. Or I could wait a while, but I just want her to feel comfortable and be happy. Is this way of supporting her okay? Update 2. To start. It was a pretty interesting week. Those of you who read the previous post will remember that Jennifer would come to my house for dinner. Well, dinner was great. I got to know Jennifer better. She already knew her a little because she was already a trainer at the gym before being the spinning teacher. One day after my previous post, I helped my mother make dinner: ribs, pasta, and a salad. Jennifer arrived very radiant. Honestly, I was amazed. I was used to seeing her in gym clothes, which is a top and sports shorts. She came home wearing a floral dress, loose, wavy hair, and a cool pair of sneakers. While my mother also put on a dress, put her hair up in basically casual clothes. While I was only wearing a black t-shirt and brown boots. I felt a little bad for dressing too casually. We talk about everything, or almost everything. We talked about anecdotes, food, hobbies. Jennifer gave me some nutrition tips. And it turns out that she and I have similar tastes: series, movies, video games. There was a time when we talked about a movie and book saga, HP. It was just great. I looked at my mother and she looked completely happy. After dinner, we continued talking for a while. I asked Jennifer if she was dating anyone. Sorry, knowing the situation maybe it wasn't the best, she smiled and said yes. I didn't ask any more after my mother told me don't ask her that, and Jennifer said, no, don't worry, it's okay, he's just curious. I'm dating someone and I really like that person. I turned to look at my mother. And she smiled as she saw us. Bothy apologized and went to the kitchen with all the dirty plates and glasses. I heard them continue talking. I looked carefully and saw that they were holding hands. They let go when they heard I was approaching. We said goodbye to Jennifer and I told my mom that she was nice. The following days it was the same routine. In the mornings my mother and I go to the gym, then I go to university and she goes to work. I return in the afternoon and my mother returns at night after going to her spinning class. During these days I hardly mentioned anything about that very important matter, except for one day when I made a comment about hanging out with Jennifer more. My mother agreed with that idea. On Saturday we went to a plaza to make some payments, and to buy several things. We stopped by Jennifer and it was all fun. Then Jennifer made a comment when we were carrying some things up: don't you want some ice cream? Because I do want one. We went to get some ice cream and sat in some chairs. It was a pretty nice moment. I noticed that at various times my mother and Jennifer would get closer and at the same time try to keep their distance. Yesterday my mother went out for a while around noon. I bought a box of cake mix and several colorants. I made a rainbow cake so it would be ready when she returned. When my mother returned she was surprised with the cake. She broke it and asked why it was a rainbow. Then I confessed to her that I already knew about her relationship with Jennifer. I told her about the time she almost kissed her outside the house when it was raining, and about the time she kissed Jennifer days before Christmas. I told her how happy I was for her and Jennifer, that her relationship didn't bother me at all. My mother started crying, hugged me and started telling me that she was afraid to tell me. She then told me not to tell anyone in the family, because maybe they wouldn't see it very well, but what she will tell them at her time. We sat next to the table to eat the cake. My mother said that she didn't know if she was actually gay and that maybe that was the explanation why her other relationships didn't quite work out. Then she let it all out of her. He started dating Jennifer shortly after starting spinning classes. At first, they were friends with her, but little by little he fell in love with her. They both confessed one day when they went to breakfast, and since then they began dating as mom's words girlfriends. Turns out they started dating long before Christmas. My mother was afraid that I would find out about her relationship and she was afraid that I would not support her. That's what I saw before Christmas. Well, that's the situation. My mom came out as gay/lesbian shortly after. And she has a girlfriend. She later called Jennifer to tell her what happened and come home for dinner. I am very happy for her and for admitting who she is. She is clearly happy with Jennifer. Story 2. Girlfriend forbade her son from sharing a room with his long-term girlfriend on vacation, causing unnecessary drama and tension between us all. I, 48M, have been dating my girlfriend Kelly, 50F, for nearly 2 years. We are currently on vacation with her son Ryan, 23M, and his girlfriend Emily, 23F, as well as my sister, Bill, niece, and her boyfriend. To preface this, I know Ryan very well. I've known him for nearly a decade now. I was his coach in high school and we grew very, very close. He is practically a son to me. He's also been dating Emily since high school. When we were planning this trip, Kelly said that Ryan wasn't allowed to share a room with Emily. I thought she was joking, but she was not. I know Ryan is sexually active, and I've known by word of his mouth since he was a teenager. I said fine, and the technical plans were that Ryan and my niece's boyfriend would share a room, and my niece and Emily would share a room. Obviously that room arrangement wasn't going to last. Everyone was fine with the technical room arrangement. The girls even had a slumber party one of the first nights. Ryan picked up that this was just to appease Kelly. I handed him his keys and said give the second one to whoever, and he immediately gave it to Emily. My niece did the same in giving her spare key to her boyfriend. This is exactly what everyone thought would happen. Anyway, somehow Ryan had left his wallet in our room last night. Instead of bringing it to him at breakfast or knocking on his door or even shooting him a text, Kelly used the key in it to walk into his room. She saw things she didn't want to see. To be fair, they weren't having sex. What was described to me was that they were both nude, covered up at least on their bottom halves, but they were snuggled up and he was running his fingers on her back. This sounds like how most loving couples are after having sex. She was in hysterics. She refused to come to breakfast. I told her that was fine, but she wasn't going to make this a big deal on our vacation. Emily very sweetly apologized to me and said she knows how Kelly can be, which frankly made me feel terrible. When I went to retrieve Kelly from the room, she was still in a mood. She expressed to me how upset she was, and I told her be thankful all she saw was the snuggling and not the actual act. That made her really upset, and I told her she was overreacting. Ryan is an adult who has been with the same woman for years. She has confided in me before that she doesn't like Emily, but frankly I've never seen her do anything wrong. She's a bit punky and Ryan is a bit more preppy, but she's a sweet person who cares deeply for Ryan and vice versa. She called me every name in the book when I told her she was overreacting. She called him a child and accused me of taking Emily's side over her. I'm genuinely concerned. I've even considered the possibility that she forgot to bring some mood-regulating medication because I have never seen her act like this, and I'm being shunned by her for being an asshole. Currently we're all sitting on the beach while Kelly mopes inside. ETA, I wanted to add some relevant information that I see asked in the comments. So Ryan and Emily live together and have for I want to say 5 years. Ryan paid for his and Emily's portion of this trip. When Kelly brought up them not sharing a room as I was booking it, I thought she was joking and just laughed. It wasn't until we were checking in and I was passing out keycards that she reminded me of what she said, and at that point, instead of arguing about it in the lobby, I said fine and handed people their keys and told them to do whatever they want. I just wanted a drink and eat some fruit on the beach. She is in therapy and is aware of her unhealthy attachment to her son. She does take medication for mood regulation, however I'm not sure if she currently has them. Update 1. Before I get started, there are a few things I wanted to clear up. I know Kelly is mentally ill. However, in the nearly 2 years we've been together I never really noticed anything particularly concerning. Her relationship with Ryan has gotten a lot better both from what I can see and from what Ryan and I have talked about. As for her relationship with Emily, she was never particularly rude to her, but they've also never been close. Kelly is in regular therapy and is medicated for mood regulation. Additionally, I am very, very careful when it comes to enabling behavior for anyone, including Kelly. The reason I took her comment about them staying in separate rooms as a joke is because I genuinely thought it was a joke. That was a ridiculous statement to make. I was sitting at my desk booking the rooms, she had made that comment, I chuckled, and then we started talking about something else. I had no reason to believe that she genuinely felt that way. When she reminded me of her rule in the hotel lobby, I looked at her like she was crazy. She didn't make a scene, and frankly I was exhausted, so I just gave up and handed people the pairs of keycards and told them to do whatever they wanted, and within the hour I was asleep on the beach. I spoke to Ryan before anyone else, apologizing on Kelly's behalf. Since I've known him the longest of the young couple, I figured it'd be easier to talk to him. He was surprisingly understanding of the situation, and apologized back to me for starting this whole thing, which I let him know was a ridiculous thing to apologize for. Before I even had the chance, he himself brought up emotional incest, and said that that was something she was really bad about when he was a teenager and still needed to work on now that he was an adult out of the house. I spoke with Emily and the conversation went similarly. Ryan has always been very strict on his boundaries surrounding how his mother treats Emily, usually leaving her alone for a few days or weeks until she is able to be respectful towards her again. When I asked them both if they knew why Emily was disliked by Kelly, neither of them knew exactly. Emily did suggest that right before Ryan moved out, Kelly had walked in on them actually having sex. Her reaction was even more extreme than this one. They had just graduated high school, meaning Ryan was about 3 months from 19 and Emily was newly 18. This argument caused him to move in with Emily's family, which according to Ryan was extremely tough for Kelly. That event practically thrust her into needing to deal with her attachment issues and trauma, because Ryan told her he would no longer be in contact with her unless she started going to therapy and working on herself. The day of the post, Kelly was able to get an emergency appointment with her therapist. After that, she had calmed down significantly and I was able to actually talk to her. While the whole talk was far too personal for me to go into detail about, I want to talk about a few points. The first thing I asked was what the actual hell was going on. While her unhealthy attachment to her son is at play, she told me the situation was triggering and sent her spiraling, then referenced the circumstances regarding Ryan moving out, which we had never spoken about before. She has a lot of trauma surrounding being a single mother, and certainly has abandonment issues. Ryan's father was a brief, few-week fling who she thought would want to stay with her to raise a baby, and ended up leaving her alone. I decided to ask her why she disliked Emily. At first she said it was because she was loud-mouthed and had Ryan by the balls. I told her to rephrase in a more productive was and she said she was opinionated and Ryan would move mountains for her. While I do adore Emily, she is certainly opinionated, but very intelligent and extremely respectful and polite. Additionally, Ryan hangs off of every word she says. He has told me himself that she's always the most interesting person in the room to him. That's not to say that both of them are perfect. In fact, I saw them bicker about a plate of fruit yesterday, but they are both great together. I told Kelly she should be proud that she raised a son that loves and appreciates his significant other so much that he has openly admitted that he would do anything for her. That lightened up her mood significantly. Funny enough, her therapist suggested she to talk to her primary care doctor or OB/GYN about menopause, which was what another commenter suggested. Her therapist suggested her medication may need to be adjusted if that's the case, as the extreme reaction was frankly out of character, and there have been other mood-related issues she's been dealing with. Initially I was not going to ask about what medication she forgot. As someone who is on antidepressants, whenever I would express rational anger, some toxic people in my life would immediately dismiss it, claiming I haven't taken my meds. I absolutely hate that. With that being said, I decided it was best for me to ask which medication she forgot. To no one's shock, it was indeed a mood-regulating medication. Her sister is joining us for the second week, so she will be bringing her medication. Finally, Ryan and Emily had joined us in a conversation. It was filled with a lot of apologies, a little bit of tears, and a surprising amount of hugging. From what I gather, this is not the first conversation of its kind between the three. One thing that was spoken about was how Kelly ended up with Ryan's wallet in the first place. Ryan is not someone who forgets their wallet, or their keys, or phone, or any other personal item. There was a brief argument about whether or not Kelly took his wallet, but she denied this, and Emily suggested it just fell out of his pocket when he laid on the couch. The biggest topic of conversation was Kelly opening the door with no invitation. She was not able to give a rational reason for doing so, and finally agreed with Emily when she had said that Kelly just wanted to catch them off guard. Ryan also put Kelly in her place as far as boundaries go, which I have seen him to before but am always impressed by, considering I remember when he felt like he had to just let his mom do whatever she wanted so that she was happy. Kelly accepted responsibility and spoke rather openly about her conversation with her therapist, which led to a lot of compassion and understanding from Ryan and Emily. Emily expressed her gratitude for Kelly accepting responsibility, and even suggested they get a drink together. It was generally agreed upon that this entire situation was ridiculous, and that everyone just wanted to enjoy their vacation. Kelly finally gathered herself enough to join us all for our vacation. I feel at ease knowing I can finally, actually relax. Since then our days have been filled with drinks, beach, good food, and naps, and I couldn't be happier.